Good morning, Dave Asher here with Nevada First Radio. Happy Monday, everybody. So excited to be out there reminding you to the advantages of supporting Nevada-based, locally owned businesses to turn the economy around to create jobs right here in Nevada. That's what we do here every Monday. We're just here to remind you, folks, for every dollar you're going to spend, for every credit card you're going to take out and slide, for every check you're going to write, before you hand that over, ask yourself, is this a Nevada-based, locally owned business that I'm giving my money to? Are you part of the solution or part of the problem? Because if you're at that chain store, if you're in that lineup right now to get that coffee at that chain store with 9 people in front of you and 5 people behind you, you're part of the problem. You're taking money that's in our community, spending it at a chain store, and it's going to go back to the headquarters, shrink our economy, and that's what Buy Local is trying to educate you on. Support a local coffee shop. Those profits are reinvested back in the local economy. That's how jobs get turned around. So go to that local restaurant. Have you moved your money to the local bank yet? How could you even think about leaving your money in the chain store bank after what they've did to the country in the mortgage crisis? So you're supporting that. You're part of the problem. Have you moved your money to Heritage Bank or to Greater Nevada Credit Union or to Frontier Financial or Great Basin Credit Union? That's about all the choices we have. Nevada One is a great credit union out of Vegas. Here's a Nevada-based credit union. So if your money is still at that chain store, you're part of the problem. They have record profits. The CEOs are making bazillions. And how are you doing? So you just haven't moved your money to a local bank. Folks, Heritage Bank is owned by 300 local families right here in northern Nevada. The profits that they make are spent right back into our community. That's how it works. It's very easy. All you have to do is ask yourself, for every dollar you're spending, is this a locally owned business? And if it's not, where do you go to find a locally owned business? How about going to my website where I have our free listing in my online directory for every locally owned headquartered Nevada business at buylocalrenosparks.com. One of my favorite businesses in that directory, under the computer category, under IT category, under web design category, is We Are Technology. I got in the studio here today. I remember to invite somebody. I got Bill back here. Bill, good morning. Bill Sikkens from We Are Technology. The owner's here to tell us about what's going on.
And a happy good morning to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to do my opening rant there to tell everybody why we're doing this, and I learned this a long time ago from Eddie Floyd, the role model of anybody who wants to be on radio. He always says, tell us about yourself first. Bill, you own We Are Technology, a 17-year-old Reno company, but what the heck got you started in this?
Well, as you say, 17 years ago, we sat down and we're looking at something where we could figure out a niche for our local community and something that would be beneficial here. I'm born and raised in Nevada. We knew the market. So we actually started out at the old Park Lane Mall, back when there was a old Park Lane Mall.
That's where Eddie started this radio
absolutely,
station.
And it was a beautiful location for many years. Mm-hmm. We had a store in there for a while. Since then, we have kind of morphed into doing programming and software design. But that's where we started, and that's how we got started.
17 years ago, nobody even knew hardly what a computer was, let alone how to use it, how to write code. What made you so ahead of the curve?
Well, they had this weird new technology out called the Internet.
Yeah,
and,
brand new.
Yeah, World Wide Web, technically, if you want to go there, which just recently celebrated 20 years. So we're just, it's still very new even now, based on those type of things.
Right.
But at that time, we were in the process of working with a number of businesses here locally and nationally for doing upgrades. We were involved in one of the very first banks putting checking and savings account online. It was a big deal back then.
Big deal.
You could go and see what your checking account balance was.
Wow.
That's
revolutionary.
Revolutionary, and it was people were lining up for it.
Yes.
And
17 years ago?
Yep.
Wow.
So, and we just got started plugging into that time was the latest, greatest. Then one of the second things we did with a lot of support from local vendors was put together a community computer lab, which was also in Park Lane Mall while we were there, where people could come in and take classes at free or reduced charges and that type of thing.
What kind of computers were those?
Back in the day, well, let me think. 486 technology. It was state of the art.
MS-DOS?
MS-DOS.
Okey-dat printers?
We did have color monitors on them, and that was a big deal at the time.
Big deal. They still weighed 150 pounds.
They did, yes. And you reinforced the table, but they worked.
Yeah. That's neat. So to have somebody here in Reno be that so far advanced in compared to the nation, and your product and service didn't probably make the fit, but we had a display at the Reno airport of things that are made in Nevada,
right.
and it was called Who Knew? So that's what I'm going to say about your company. 17 years, leading technology, writing for Google. Who knew? So that's really neat. You fit that tagline.
And it's been wonderful to definitely be a part of it. And like you say today, like display at the airport and some of the other Buy Local Nevada. I hear there's a big new store on the horizon coming up.
Big new store. I hate to tell anybody till the lease is signed because it's so. I guess it's an effort now. Yes. And what are you going to have for sale in there?
Well, we've been actually talking about that internally. One of the products that we're bringing to the table that's physical is going to be a secured router. One of the issues that's been coming up lately is with what's called the Internet of Things, devices that go on the inside of a home connection, like refrigerators and washers and dryers, and of all things, a toothbrush has come out now for that, can actually be hacked and used to send spam and do other things they're not supposed to do. So we're going to be offering to the market here in the next 60 days a specialized router that's designed to prevent that. And that's going to be one of many local products we'll have.
That's really neat. And is it your invention?
It's our technology, yes.
Your technology?
Yes.
That's really cool. So the store he's talking about, here we're in the Reno Town Mall where America Matter Studios are, down here where we record live shows all week long. Right across the hallway, there's a store that's been here a while called China Works. They're downsizing, so they have a 4,000 square foot store. The mall owner let them out of their lease a little early so that we could come in with a Buy Nevada First gift shop and visitors center. So this store will have everything in it that's made local, grown local, or owned local, and you certainly qualify that. We're real proud to have you here, and we're just you're just a blessing to the community. So we're going to talk about a couple new subjects today. Something I forgot what you told me to ask you. So why don't you just go ahead and remind me what I'm supposed to ask you, and then answer the question.
Well, I can certainly do that. Don't you love Monday mornings?
All I remember is the inbox or something about inbox or influx, and so I didn't get that right.
Well, the first thing is to talk a little bit about insourcing.
Insourcing, I knew it was the in something.
You're going right
what
direction.
What does that mean?
Well, one of the things that is very interesting, and you were actually the person that made me think about this and actually sit down and figure out our numbers, is Cumulus Technology, weirdtechnology.com, is actually a company that sells nationally, based here in Nevada.
Yes.
So one of the things that sits down to as far as a buy local campaign is that our production work, 85% of it, as I found out, and didn't know that number until very recently, is done here in Nevada. So what ends up happening is when we make a sale, we have a new franchise that just opened in Georgia, for example. The production work actually drives jobs and drives money back here locally, because that's where the actual manufacturing or programming in this case is done, and then the product is returned, in this case, to Georgia. So what ends up happening is it not only creates jobs, but it creates local money or national money that's being brought in locally that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Well, now you're talking my language, and so insourcing is the opposite of outsourcing.
Yes.
I mean, we've heard outsourcing a billion times. We haven't heard insourcing at all, and it needs to be focused on, and bless you for bringing that up and doing it yourself and analyzing. So you're at 84%?
Yeah, right about those numbers of total production that's done here. So what ends up happening, again, is you sell something, let's say it's a $1,000 website product. Most 85% of those dollars end up in Nevada.
Well, now that's really neat, but I had a similar conversation with you about how much your revenue comes from out of the area, and it's the same number.
Yes, it's right about the same number.
Is that just a coincidence that you about 85% of your revenue comes from outside the state of Nevada, helping our economy grow? So that's just a coincidence that you're both in the 84s there, 85.
Coincidence,
yeah.
I'm sure, yes.
Yeah, because I knew I'm paying attention. I recognized that number from before. I was just make sure I wasn't confused. So you're a local company that exports your products and services, mostly services, to the rest of the world. So you're made in Nevada, sold to the world.
Dun,
How's
dun,
that?
dun.
How's that new tagline? I stole that from Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world. So Lucas Oil gets that, but I'm gonna tag that to Nevada made, sold to the world.
I love it. That's great.
And that's you. And so we need more companies like you. That actually grows the economy. Folks, I want to explain how this works. When you go to a chain store, imagine our economy is a bucket. Washoe County is a bucket, and it's full of money. And so when you go to a chain store, you're taking money that was in that bucket, and you're sending it off to their headquarters, where it's dispersed either through their shareholders, which are all over the world, or to the owners that aren't in Nevada. That's why it's an out-of-state chain store. If you support a local business, you're taking money that's here, and it stays here, and that's really good. But what you do, exporting your services, exporting your products, bringing money back to the economy, grows our bucket, and that's really important. So the governor's paying attention to that. He's all over businesses that export. Edon here locally is doing a lot of big things with companies that export. They recognize them. I fully expect you're going to be recognized in their next awards, probably 4, 5, 6 months. It's called the Nevada Industry Excellence Awards, and they recognize companies that export and help grow our economy. So good for you. Now, I know you're a very successful company, and you've been at it for a while, but it's the same cliche that you always hear, and I'm trying to be the same. I want to be like you. I want to people say, look at that big company he grew. Is you surround yourself with a really, really good team. That's always the secret to success. I've always heard that, and I'm making conscious steps to do the same. Eddie's done it down here at this radio station. He started with himself and 2 microphones, and now he's got a team, and he's booming and growing, and you've done the same. Tell me about your team.
Well, and that is so true. That is absolutely so true. In fact, sitting and watching us in the audience today are 2 of my longest team members that helped me start the business, Jeremy and Gretchen Winkler, who have been very good friends for many years. And since then, we have had the ability to work with talent and people that have just been a great part and helped us grow and helped us become what we are.
Stay tuned. We're going to hear more about this great team. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Kate Pate, Executive Director of Creative Coverings Specialty Linen, inviting you to visit our showroom to choose from our wide array of colors and fabrics. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff will keep you up to date on all of the latest trends and styles to help make your next special event shine. Even though we're a national business, we still like to know our customers by name and give them the same personal attention they'd receive from a local company. We're all about providing a variety of choices, great prices, fabulous quality, and friendly service. Check out our website at creativecoverings.com or come by our showroom located at 87 Coney Island Drive in Sparks. Our friendly staff is ready to answer your questions if you visit or call us at 775-359-6733. That's 775-359-6733.
The service is fairly priced, honest, and reliable. I never worry they're going to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed or ignore something that shouldn't be ignored. They vacuum the carpet and wash the windshield. And hey, they still have full service gas at no extra charge.
Howard Chevron, an old-fashioned service station, locally owned and family operated since 1971. Howard Chevron, a 2G station, is authorized to perform emission-related repairs. Smog checks available 7 days a week. No appointment necessary with on-site vehicle registration. Or if you need to visit the DMV, it's only a block away. Fleet services are available. Howard's is conveniently located at East 4th Street and Galletti in Reno, just off I-80 at exit 16. Visit their website at smogrenosparks.com. Or better yet, stop by and you'll agree. Attention to detail is everything at Howard Chevron. It's with great sadness we announce that Carl has passed away. As you know, he deeply cared for all of the customers and friends of Howard Chevron. Howard and Gina will continue to operate the station in his memory and appreciate your continued patronage.
We bring style into your home. Sparks, tile, and stone.
Hi, this is Cindy at Sparks Tile and Stone. When you visit us, you'll experience hometown customer service and you'll get honest, knowledgeable information on tile, granite, and natural stone. Why? Because that's all we do. Service before, during, and after the sale, you'll only find it at Sparks Tile and Stone. Enjoy full use of our design room and in-store design with any purchase. Customer service is key, and we strive to make you feel comfortable with your selection. Tile starting at $1.59 a square foot and great pricing on granite slabs and prefab granite countertops. Sparks Tile and Stone, locally owned and operated at 935 South Rock Boulevard between Glendale and Gregg, or call us at 358-7734.
We bring style into your home. Sparks, tile, and stone. Money, get away. Get a good job with your pen, you're okay.
Money! That's right, we're talking about money. This is the Money Show. This is Nevada First Radio, where we talk about keeping the money in the state of Nevada. That's why I have that theme song. I love that. We're talking about keeping money here, keeping the money in your pocket out there. And if you're listening to us worldwide on the World Wide Web, You need to keep the money in your community there. Keep your money to yourself. Keep it in your economy. Support local businesses. So that's what we do down here at Nevada First Radio, is educate consumers to the benefits of supporting locally owned versus spending at a chain store. And if you're a business that exports, we really love you. Nevada needs you. And here in the studio, we're talking to Bill Sikkens, the owner of We Are Technology. Bill's a 17-year-old technology company here in Reno. Was there when technology first was invented. It's almost like you were there when dinosaurs were out as far as technology goes. You were one of the first dinosaur slayers, a dinosaur hunter.
Dinosaur slayer, I like that.
Yes,
I'd love to use that as a tagline
now.
now.
That's it, because, 17 years ago, it was an unheard of field to be in unless you lived in Silicon Valley. Yeah. And now it's as common as everybody having a smartphone.
And things were so different. Back in the day that we started, a lot of our first-time clients were their first aspect of using computers and technology within their businesses. And knew at the time things like email, which I hear they're actually starting to phase out with some new technologies now.
Yeah.
And some other things like that were just, I don't have to use the big yellow inter-office mail envelope anymore. No, I think that those, put it in a frame and remember old times, because it's...
you don't have that tube that sucks with the air, like the banks do.
I remember
that was
those.
inter-office.
Inter-office, yeah. And then about 2 years later, I remember on those, all the tags going up, don't use this chute anymore, send an email. And it would generate things. A real quick story, if I may, on that. From when we started, we with one of our local banks that's still a client, was working on rolling out computers. And we had their compliance department, and a lady that was absolutely wonderful, just one of those people, if you're having a bad day, you go talk to her and you're not having a bad day anymore.
Yay.
And she was starting to get to the age of retirement, and they had just gotten Windows 95 as computers in there, state-of-the-art and all that kind of stuff. And a couple days later, I get a phone call from her, and she's just totally nervous and like, come over, I need you to come to the office. Sure, no problem, I'll be right over, but what's wrong? Just get here before the police do. I'm like, get there before the police do? Okay, well, I better check this out. So I walk over, and she was just absolutely terrified, and had thrown up an error. Your computer has performed an illegal operation.
Oh.
And so about 2 weeks later, she retired. And just, wasn't, it was just, that was the way she had done it for many years. It was transitioning and that type of a thing. And there was a lot of that kind of almost barrier to entry in those days of being able to get people to understand that this is a safe format, it's going to increase productivity, and it's worth very much doing. And when things first started, that was one of the big things to have to overcome, was just a fear of new things.
Oh yeah. And this was just going to be like out of this world technology that we'll never really need.
It's going to do something weird, the information, and all of this. And as people got used to it and started understanding that no, this is actually a good thing, and used in the right way, it can be very beneficial. It's allowed it to catch on. Now, we've had the same fears. About a year ago now, when Google Glass was first debuting, and the Nevada gaming industry came out with their opinion on that, and it was the first going to be banned from any casino property. And then it was like smartphones 5 years ago. You can't take a picture in the casino. You can't do this. You can't do that. And again, as people started getting used to it and being a part of the local economy to be able to help our businesses get used to it, those type of barriers to entry are starting to be reduced, and now the casino industry looks at it as a decision of the property, not of the state. So you do see this transition and this change.
Right.
But being a cutting-edge company and being one that local, we don't have a lot of other people here. Like you say, Silicon Valley is and it's our neighbor, so it's kind of nice to have that. But again, we're able to develop and be innovative in a very unique way here because we have that opportunity.
Well, you're just to build a company like you have here in Reno, little redneck Reno. How do we produce such a successful technology company? And again, it must go back to your team. Tell us some more about that. I mean, you're a 17-year-old company with 17-year employees.
Yes, we have many of our team members are from the original days when we first opened. I was talking about two of them. Like I say, they're here giving me moral support today. And we have.
Well, we can tell everybody they're too wimpy to be on the radio.
Yes, we can certainly talk about that.
They don't even want to talk on the radio. They'll work on code and stuff all day long, but they don't get them on front of the radio.
We're working to change that, so we'll see what happens. So we'll debut right here. I
just threw out a challenge.
I think you did. So anyway, but people are what make any kind of a company. Yeah. The team is so important, and having people that have been around, that have been a part of this since day one, have, you have good days and bad days. 2007 affected a lot our economy and everything very negatively. Very much we're pulling back out of that now, and it's going into a much more prosperous time. But during those phases, it was the team that kind of kept me together, be able to, okay, we're going to have to do this, we're going to have to do that, and we're going to make it work. And because of that, at the end of the day, we did. So, which puts me actually into another scenario here that I'd like to talk about, and this is actually on a very positive note. We are at the back end of that now and growing again. And one of the things that's going to be happening over the next 90 days is we're looking actually to hire about 20 new people here in Nevada. This, again, is a result of insourcing. As the workload comes up, we are looking for local talent from the programming standpoint, as well as adding a couple of people to our outside sales team and all of that type of stuff. So we're going to be sitting down and addressing and dealing with that over the next couple of months. How
many employees do you have now?
49.
49. And you're going to add 20 more?
We're going to be adding 20 more.
Wow.
So it's...
that is a proof positive that things are turning around here in northern Nevada. The worst is behind us, and we're on the mend, and it's getting better every day from now on out.
Yeah, and it's actually a lot of fun dealing with problems like we're outgrowing our office again.
Yay.
This will be the second time in a year, and it's... Fortunately, where we're at now, there's additional space, so we won't have to move again, but we're going to have to add to what we've got.
I imagine you have a little bit of an infrastructure for all the technology you have.
Yeah, moving's a little more than just moving the table. It's
tell everybody, what does We Are Technology actually do? What's your products? What's your services? What do you do most? And what's the next thing coming down the pike?
All right, our primary focus is development for software design. Specifically for things like smartphones. So we do app development. When you download an app on your Android or iPhone, there's a pretty good chance that we had some part to do with creating that software.
From right here in Reno.
Right here
you hear that, world? Right here in Reno.
So that's a big part of what we do. We've gotten into the wearables, so the Google Glass, the Google Watch,
What's
Samsung
a Google
Watch.
Watch do?
Well, it is basically an extension of your smartphone. So it allows you to answer calls, interact, do a lot of the things that you can do on your mobile phone is now on your wristwatch.
So we're a combination Star Trek and Get Smart.
Basically, yes.
We have all the things that they showed us in the 60s are now
starting to materialize.
They're real.
Yeah, you're seeing it as a part of things. And even thinking about 10 years ago, this would have all still been considered, as you say, Star Trek. It was very futuristic.
Yes.
And we're very much headed that way. And that's a big part of why I love to do this, because where we're going to be 10 years from now.
Wow. And you are the leading edge for that technology here in the Reno area.
Yes, very much so. And very proud to be a part of it.
You must be proud. You must get up every day and just say, look what I've built.
It is great. It is interesting to look at, and see things coming together. And the other big part of it that's a lot of fun is when you get a bigger project and you start putting it together for one of these environments. We also do web programming and that type of thing. So usually it's a one-stop where we're doing something to enhance a website plus create an application and figuring out where that works for workflow and how we're going to show a good return on investment to the client and all of that type of stuff, to actually seeing the finished product is really very rewarding.
Well, now you just brought up ROI. And you are the leader in phone app technology. Now, I heard websites, is the biggest thing. Every business is pretty soon going to need an app. Is that true? Most of them?
Basically where we're headed. It's the comparison for websites a few years ago was made that not having a website is like not having a phone number.
Yeah.
Both are just as important. And being able to have support for mobile devices. We just hit a threshold very recently that over 50% of internet access now is done from mobile devices. So if your business doesn't show up or doesn't support tablets and smartphones and that type of thing correctly, you're losing a huge percentage of your market share, because people will look at it and go on to the next one that does.
Right. So is the ROI there for most businesses now, or is that cost got to come down in the app and have people also use them more? So the consumer has to favor that also.
The consumer has to favor it, and we hit the balance of there being a real ROI even on apps for smaller businesses probably about last summer, I think. And it's getting into a position now where we can actually sit down and do the brainstorming session. The first thing you can do is add functionality and increase the ability to avenues to sales for really whatever the product is that the client has. But the second thing is sit down and look at the whiteboard and figure out, okay, it's going to cost X amount to produce and update your software, and here's your return. And usually the average is 90 to 180 days before you actually hit the point where now you're making money based on what you've done.
That's very affordable advertising. Some of these things, it takes a couple of years.
Very much
of
so.
Reinvesting and reinvesting to get your money back. So it's that quick on new technology that will be around for a while.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what's coming after the phone app. Do you know?
Well, let's see. We've got the phone apps, and then the wearables, I think, are going to be our next big thing. And Google Glass kind of being the head of that, and then kind of
how did you get hooked up with Google? Tell us what you do with Google. We only have a minute left, so you got.
So okay, I'll give you the short version of it. Well, what happened was a number of years ago when the iPhone came out, and then they had this thing called Android, and Android was going to be a kind of camera, digital camera.
Mm-hmm.
It was not anything to do with smartphones. And at that time, the powers to be, Larry Page and so on over at Google said, maybe we should take this a step further, and was actually rejected the first couple of times out. And when we got the original pre-releases of these things going, this is going to be a big deal. You've got the internet in your hands. So we started working, and we're one of the very first vendors to program for the platform, and have just been involved with them since then.
So here's a Reno company doing business with Google. So folks, you need to pay attention. How do we get a hold of you down there at We Are Technology?
The best way is to just go to our website, wearetechnology.com, click on the Ask a Question button, post your question, like us on Facebook, and we'll get with you very, very quickly.
Well, there you go. You just got to meet a Nevada company, born here, raised here, has a business here. Folks, keep the money in Nevada. We'll see you next week. Remember, buy local.
My